Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. I'm Kevin Kyzar, your sports information coordinator here at Co-Lin, and joining me first is our men's soccer head coach, JT Coward. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Coach, obviously, we talk about the one game that you played last week. The guys stayed in the win column. You're undefeated on the season. You got a big win on the road. You know, I know it's a lot of the games right now are all on the road. You don't have your home opener for like another week. We're going to talk about that one next week. But how good did it feel to get such a close win on the road against a pretty decent opponent?
Yeah, so we're at Calhoun up near Huntsville. It was about a 5.5-hour bus ride. So I talked to a bunch in the warm-up about let's make sure we start off on the front foot, full of energy. And it was nice to get that early goal to get us going in the game.
And you just mentioned it, an early goal. Only goal of the match came in the second minute. Robin Feliciano, you mentioned it, just kind of passed it by the keeper. He got an assist from Johan Bedoya, who got it around the cornerback. Robin was at the top of the box, had a one-on-one with the keeper, was able to win it, and that's where you get the goal from. But then you had to play 88 minutes of 1-0 soccer, and I don't know if anything makes a soccer coach more nervous than a 1-0 or a one-goal lead for that long.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, we scored the early one, and then that was the only goal of the match. So we defended for a solid 88 minutes, and just kind of battled there for the rest of the game.
And then you look at Jamie Duran. We talk about him all the time. 2 clean sheets to start off the year. Very good start for him. Only had to make 1 save in this match. So that not only speaks for how well he played, which, when you only have to face 1 shot and you save that one, hey, it's a great day for you. Yeah. But that also speaks of how good the back line had played in front of him. We've talked about that back line, anchored by Ethan Sharp and Lucas Giacomini. You've also got Braden Bridges back there as well, too, and I believe Cooper Hammonds and a couple of other supporting guys who just done a phenomenal job so far to start the year.
Yeah, they were solid. We really limited all their chances throughout the game. So, like you said, Jimmy only had 1 save on the day, so it was a bit of an easy afternoon for him. Those 4 in the back were solid all game long. That's really going to be the foundation of our team this year is just a solid defense, a team that's tough to score on. So.
And now you turn your attention to, you've got 1 more match on the road before you have your home opener next week. Again, we'll talk about that home opener next week. But you go to National Park this upcoming Wednesday, kickoff at 3 p.m. Another long road trip. You're going to have to go to, I believe, Hot Springs, Arkansas. So another long road trip. I think people at home might ask, why take those long trips? But you look at it, it's going to help you when you've got to go to a place like Itawamba up in Fulton, which is 4.5 hours away, about 4 hours away, when you've got to go to East Miss, which is on the other side of the state, and you think, it's just on the other side of the state, it's not that far. But from here, it's about 3 hours, so you got some long road trips. So these long non-conference road trips help you get ready for those conference road trips.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, that Itawamba game is never a fun one. The boys always get off the bus after about a 4-hour drive, and they're just kind of dragging a little bit. So these out-of-state games definitely help prepare us for some of these longer trips in conference.
But as we mentioned, you're going to play National Park on this upcoming Wednesday. What do we know about the Nighthawks going into this one, and what are you expecting out of that matchup?
Yeah, so they're a pretty good program. Last week in the national rankings, they were receiving votes to be nationally ranked. They played Jones this past week. They lost 2-0, but that game was 0-0 for majority of the game. So I expect it to be a really good opponent.
So lots of exciting things happening for your bunch. We're looking forward to having that home opener next week. Going to have a lot of things planned for the guys and those kind of things as we welcome in the Bears of Southwest. But again, we'll talk more about that preview next week. For now, Wolves soccer undefeated on the year. They haven't given up a goal in 180 minutes. Haven't given up a lot of shots on goal either. I think Jimmy only has about 4 or 5 saves on the whole season. So again, strong defensive performances from the Wolves have been the centerpiece to their fantastic start to the season. They're 2-0. They hit the road this Wednesday against National Park at 3 p.m. Coach, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week as always.
Thanks for having me.
So that'll wrap up our men's soccer segment. Stick with us through the break. We've got women's soccer and football on the horizon after this. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And joining me now is our head women's soccer coach, Joe Joe Tharp. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Coach, obviously a little bit of good news this week. We won't bury the lead. We'll get straight to it. The Lady Wolves got their get back, and you got your first win as a head coach. Congratulations on that. Yeah. Your thoughts overall on how good it felt to face a little bit of adversity in this game, but were able to overcome that and get the win on the road.
Yeah, so it felt really good to actually get out there and see the girls actually compete for each other. A lot of the girls came to me after the game and said that was the most fun game they've had since last year, just because it's felt a lot different for them too, a new coach, new team, everything. So I think that's really that made them feel really good, made me feel really good, obviously, to see that from them and see the effort they put in and get the outcome that we wanted.
And so a 2-1 victory on this one. You got out to a little bit of an early lead. It didn't take long for you to get on the board first. In the 13th minute, Jessa Brontes gets her first goal of the season, a penalty kick, a ball that, we were just looking at it, a foul that, clearly the defender doesn't even try to go for the ball, Jess clips her, gets called for the PK, Jess slots it in pretty easily. It's 1-0 at that point, and that lead carries throughout the remainder of the first half. What's the message to the girls knowing, hey, a 1-0 lead is great, but it's probably not going to be enough to beat teams, especially when you get into conference play and those kind of things?
Yeah. So I told the girls we did a really, really good job defensively in that first half. We did a really good job offensively too. We just couldn't find the back of the net, which was our struggle in our first game. We talked about that last week, but I kind of told them, I was like, look, first 10 minutes has to be really strong. If we can get a goal in the first 10 minutes, then this game is over at that point. So they came out really quick. We had a couple of shots early in the first half. I would say we probably overall dominated 75 minutes of that game, just near their goal the whole time. We just couldn't finish the ball. But the halftime message was mainly just put the ball in the back of the net as early as we can in the second half, was just to finish the game out. So. Yeah.
And, not to spoil anything, but it took a while before you found the back of the net for a second time. And ironically, the Lady Warriors actually found the equalizer and tied it 1-1, I believe, in about the 75th minute or so. And actually, looks like they might could have taken the lead had a person who was running free in the box. You just showed me it. We were just looking at it. Sarah Pinzon made a great play, made a great track back, and was able to wipe that ball out, got a foul, were able to get the kick. Then you look back in the 82nd minute, just a great play there. Ella Bell takes one down the line. She holds up her defender, gets it around her, finds Maddie Logan at the top of the box. Maddie dribbles past the goalie and is able to get probably one of the easiest game-winning goals you could possibly have in the 82nd minute. Then you play some strong defense to finish it out. And I think I told you, I said, if there's anybody on this team who maybe deserves a game-winning goal like that, of that magnitude, and maybe one to really kind of lift her spirits, it's Maddie Logan. She holds herself to a very high standard. We all know that, but to see her be able to have that moment, it's got to feel great as a coach.
Yep, yeah, it did. It felt really good. And actually, we were talking before we got on the road about Maddie Logan. JT came to her and he was like, "You're getting a goal today," and told her, and he was like, it does. We were talking about Harry Kane and at Bayern Munich. Nobody asked him how many shots he takes. They asked him how many goals he scored. And so we were talking about Maddie, just keep shooting, and eventually is going to find the back of the net. And that's what she did that game, and she closed it out for us. So, and the girls were really, really excited. The main thing I was proud about was second East Central scored, we ran and got the ball. Everybody sprinted, put it on the half line, and told the ref to come on. Like, we were ready to go. Yeah. So it was really important. Yeah, that mentality.
I think the most important thing is kind of, as you mentioned, no one cares about how many shots you take. They care about how many goals you score. And you can't score the goals if you don't take the shots. Exactly. You look at the line on this one. You had about 10 shots. 8 of them were on goal. That's a really good percentage. You got 2 goals. You'd like to get a few more goals, but hey, if 80% of the shots you're taking are on goal, and 2 of them go in, that's a pretty good day. That can win you a lot of soccer, especially going into conference play. We're not there yet. We're getting close to that. We'll talk about that matchup next week. You've got one more kind of exhibition match coming up this Monday. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that one. Louisiana Christian coming into Wesson at 6:30 on Monday. The one we want to talk about is National Park on the road, kind of your final big road test. This will be probably the longest road trip that the girls have had to take. We talked with Coach Coward earlier. The beauty of one of those is you're able to get on the bus, take a long road trip, and figure out, hey, can we get off the bus and get ready to go? And that'll benefit you later on the road. Yeah,
it will. So that's one thing. I mean, the girls aren't super excited about the long trip. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see them play, ultimately what it is. And it's a different environment than we're used to. And like you said, just getting off the bus, making sure we can do it, because when we do travel Pearl River and all them, where it's still a good drive for us, and we've got to. And like Northwest, luckily we're at home for that game. But these long games, when we got to Itawamba, it's the same way. It's like we got to make sure we can get off the bus and be ready to play. So it is about a 24-hour trip in a day, so it's gonna be a lot. But I'm excited to see how we do.
As I mentioned with JT, you still got to go to Itawamba, still got to go to East Miss. There's still some long road trips. Maybe not a 5 or 6 hour trip, but still some long road trips nonetheless. What do we know about the Nighthawks coming in this one? What excites you about this matchup, and what are you expecting out of it?
I'm expecting a lot from the girls. They're going in with a lot of confidence, especially after this past week playing East Central. But I know that they've played a couple of schools in our conference, Hans, I believe, and I think they played Pearl River as well. Both Hans and Pearl River beat them, so I think we're coming in not overly confident, but confident in our ability to do well against them. I don't know too much about their team. I think they play similar formation to us. They have a really good winger and a really good forward, but that's about the gist of what we know so far. So it's tough to scout a team that's 6 hours away.
Right. So the good news is Lady Wolves do get their first win of the season, improved to 1-1-0 overall in the year. Again, they'll have one final exhibition against Louisiana Christian on Monday at 6:30. Then hit the road to Hot Springs, Arkansas, face off against National Park. Originally, those games times were 1 and 3. They're now 5 and 7. We'll give you all the information on socials as always. Coach, thanks for joining me. We look forward to talking next week, and we'll talk about the conference opener next week as well too. So conference play is here next week. We're excited about that as well too. Stick with us through the break. Football coming your way. Wolves dominate Holmes, and we'll talk all about it with Coach Davis after this.
When you give to the Co-Lin Foundation, your support directly benefits Co-Lin students, faculty, and staff. Whether it's by providing scholarships for students, professional development opportunities for faculty and staff, or technology and campus upgrades, we need your support. Giving to Co-Lin offers the best value for your money as a donor. With low administrative spending and overhead, we can use your donations in tangible ways that benefit students right now. Join us as we back the pack by giving today.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And in our final segment, joining me is our head football coach, Micah Davis. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me again.
And Coach, obviously, it's a fun week here on the Coaches Show. We get to talk about nothing but wins, not to bury the lead, but the guys pulled off a win, 30-13. A game where it feels like it probably should have been a lot more. It feels like you probably should have had at least 44, 45 on the board. But you like the fact that you were able to overcome a little bit of adversity, overcome some things, a little bit of a slow start, or slow middle, we should say, and be able to get a win. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, overall, defense played really well. We threw a pick six there, so that's an extra touchdown for those guys. But yeah, offensively, we got to be able to execute a little bit better. Got to quit, having penalties. We had a long touchdown run by Tay again, and it gets called back. And so it's some stuff that was left out there on the field that we obviously got to clean up this week and as we get going during the season.
Yeah, you look at that, and I think we talked about it. You just talked about it. Martavis Boswell had a long touchdown run that was called back because of a penalty. You had another touchdown that it looked like Karan Williams hit the pylon. Replay showed maybe he hit the pylon, maybe his toe was out. You're not really sure. Unfortunately, that next play, Jaquan Bentley fumbled the ball there on the 1 yard line, and that left a touchdown off the board as well too. So I think those two plays, you look at those and go, we clean up those kind of things, and you're going to be able to blow opponents out.
Yeah, that's a 2 touchdown score difference there that we should have had on the board, and we just got to be able to take care of the ball, eliminate penalties, and and put it in the end zone when we're supposed to.
Yeah, and you look at the box score, you did have 21 first downs. You had 13 of those on the ground, 5 of those passing. I think you'd like to clean up the third down efficiency a little bit. 3 of 14, only 21% there. You went for it on 4th down one time. You're able to get that one. And you look at the offense, a little more unbalanced than what we were the week before. You still had 407 yards, but you only had 97 through the air, 310 on the ground. So a very good rushing day against a team that I think you knew that was going to be the key, was getting the rushing game going.
Yeah, that we've heard that that was the way to kind of get after Holmes was being able to run the ball, and our offensive line they were up for the task and they did a good job. Obviously, we do want to throw the ball. In this league, you're going to have to be able to throw the ball to be able to win, and that's something we got to get better at. And it probably had to do a lot of what I was calling and stuff, but I was pretty comfortable with the O-line blocking for the running backs, and we were how many average, a big average on the ground. Mm-hmm. So it it was hard not to call a run play. So
54 rushing attempts, 5.7 yards per carry. Anytime you're averaging 5 or more yards per carry, you're having a good day in the rushing game. Yeah. You look at it, and we talked about it, penalties. The good thing is you only had 5. It only cost you 42 yards. Unfortunately, it also cost you 1 touchdown. So you still want to clean that up a little bit because it did feel like every time you got one, it was maybe in a big moment and it cost you there. You had a couple of interceptions. The defense had a couple of interceptions. They played really well. You lost a fumble. You had the pick 6 we talked about, so you were even in the turnover battle. But we look at the impact players. Jalen Petway had a very solid game in the air. He was 6 of 14 for 57, missed a couple of guys here or there. Could have had a few more yards throughout the day, but also had a very good running game. Excuse me, 5 attempts, 40 yards, 1 touchdown. That was a 34-yard run. We'll talk about that in a second. Eli Vineyard, not as good as the week before. He did throw the pick 6. He was 2 of 5 for 40 yards. Ran the ball really well at times for you, though. 8 rushes for 34 yards. Talk about your quarterback play and what you saw out of both of them.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen, there were some throws that he missed, a little high on stuff. There was a couple throws where actually had drop balls, so, it's kind of a little bit of a mixture. We've been able to run the ball a little bit more this year. That was something we went into this season getting ready to be able to be a little more elusive there at quarterback. Eli's pick 6, he just led the guy a little bit too much, and that's what happened. But, if he puts it on it could be a touchdown. So that we just got to, like I said, clean up those mistakes.
Yeah, I think you go back, you just mentioned it. Eli's throw, I don't think was a bad throw at all. It just a little bit too far out in front. Well, you look at the ground game, this was the Martavius Boswell show for this one. 14 rushes, 153 yards, averaged just under 11 yards a carry. His longest was an 87-yard touchdown rush, 2 touchdowns. Jaquan Bentley had 13 rushes, 64 yards. Unfortunately for Jaquan, had the lost fumble. That's 2 weeks in a row he's lost a fumble on the 1-yard line. So you obviously want to clean that ball security issue up a little bit, but Desmond Ray had 9 rushes for 27 yards, and it felt like he was a stiff arm away or 1 move away from really breaking one as well too. I think all 3 of your running backs had good games.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Martavius, he's a big track guy. We knew that when we were recruiting him. He's a 10-3, 10-2, 100-meter guy, so it's pretty easy as a play caller. A guy can take it for 87 yards for a touchdown, especially in one play drives. Dez was a little bit smaller in the yards area this week. He's dealing with an illness, so hopefully we get him back this week. He's going to be healthy, and obviously Jaquan, we know he doesn't mean to fumble it on there, and he just got to have a little bit more protection of the ball. But, overall, I thought he did well. He kind of finished the game out for us and had some hard runs.
Yeah, in complete fairness to Jaquan, when he did fumble it, he had one guy around his feet holding on to him. The other guy came in and put a pretty solid hit on the ball. I don't know any running back that had held on to it in that moment. You look at the receiving, not a lot of receptions for any of your guys here. Both of your leading receivers had 2 each. That was Darnell O'Quinn and Karan Williams, 37 yards, 29 yards respectively. Jabraxton Boone, Matt Mayfield, Martavius Boswell, and Jaquan Bentley all with reception as well too. So obviously a couple of those guys had a couple of overthrows they weren't able to snag down. I think Darnell may have had the most impressive one. He went up for one. It was either him or Matt. One of those two went up for one that Jalen kind of sailed on him, but they were able to rescue him on that play.
Yeah, I mean they're all really good football players. We're trying to get the ball in their hands as much as possible. I mean they're all capable of making a big play, and so we just got to keep doing it, keep getting it in their hands, and being able to pass the ball around a little bit more like we did the first week.
And kicking game, I felt like Ty Jones was really strong. He was 2 of 3 in field goals and extra points. The missed field goal was a 46-yard attempt that got just left of the upright, just another inch or so to the right, and it would have been good. 7 punts, he averaged 32.7 yards. 4 of those went inside the 20. He flipped the field for you several times, and on kickoffs he was really strong. 63 yards, 1 touchback. So a very good kicker in Ty Jones.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm excited we got him. I mean, he's looking forward to see what he can keep doing for us. Obviously we don't need to punt that much every game, but you can see that he has that capability of flipping the field and everything. And kind of, I think his last punt we downed it inside the 3, so that was big for him and big for our defense as we finished the game.
And then you look at the defense; they held Holmes to about 240 yards. Only 25 of that came on the ground, so strong ground performance against the rushing game for the Bulldogs. A little bit more on the passing side than what you like, but Archie Chambers led the way for the Wolves defense. He had 10 total tackles, 2 of those for loss. Daniel Watkins had 5. You had 4 guys at 4. my bad. Doug Nelson, Lonnie Smith, Mike Williams, and as we were talking just before the show started, newly announced MACCC Defensive Player of the Week, Josh Davis, also had 4 tackles. This is the reason why Josh got 4 tackles, and we'll talk about the plays as well too. 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble. Both those sacks resulted in safeties. And it was really kind of a huge momentum swing for you at that point, too, because it turned a 10-point game into basically a two-score game because you were at 14-0.
Yeah, I mean, those are really big. I mean, like I've always said, Coach Gordon does a really good job with our defensive guys. They're week in, week out, they're going to be as strong as anything. And luckily, we get to go against them every day. And but no, Josh had a really good game. He's getting better each day. He practices each week he plays, and so I'm looking forward to see what he does as the future goes on. And obviously Archie made a name for himself. That's what he's supposed to do, is make 10 tackles or more. And so I'm excited. He's on our football team and able to tackle the opponents. So.
Yeah. Every time when we were statting the game and going back and checking things, we looked up and we were like, man, that is Archie making another tackle there. Or if it's not Archie, a lot of times it's Lonnie as well, too. So 2 excellent linebackers there for you. We'll talk about the scoring plays and the box score and all that. You look at the opening kickoff, Holmes takes it, you force a 3 and out, you get that punt, you get that first drive, and you score on that one pretty immediately. Jalen Petway ran the read option pretty perfectly on this one. It was wide open for him, 34-yard scamper for a touchdown.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of funny. You go back and watch the film, and their backside safety, he's chasing the run the other way, and so it makes it an pretty easy run. Great job by Darnell over in the boundary, blocking the final guy, and Jalen was able to make it in pretty easy.
Yeah, I think anytime your quarterback runs 34 yards untouched, you like that play. And then you look, it stays 7-0 for a long time. Kind of a defensive battle ensues until late in the first quarter. Ty Jones hits a 29-yard field goal. I think he had missed one. The missed 46-yarder had come earlier in there, so could have been 13-0, but it's 10-0 at that point. And you end the first quarter and you've got a 10-0 lead. You've got to like your odds going through the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, we just gotta keep kicking ourselves in the butt, and hopefully it'll we won't have to worry about that again. But we have opportunities. We got to be able to put them on the board. So.
And then the next 2 scores were the 2 plays by Josh. The first one, safety. He tackles the quarterback, strip sacks him on about the 4-yard line. The ball rolls into the end zone, and unfortunately, we had a defensive guy there. He just couldn't jump on the ball, and that's what resulted in the safety because Holmes recovers it in the end zone. Can't do anything offensively the next drive, but then defensively again, Josh comes up huge. Him and Lonnie actually both met at the quarterback. Josh gets the sack there in that situation because it was a safety. But again, we talked about these plays. There may not have been 2 bigger plays right in that moment because when we were up in the box, we went, did we just have another safety on a straight possession? And it was the same player. So it's rare to have 2 safeties. I think it's even rare for the same player to have both of those safeties.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, Josh played a great game, and they just keep getting bigger plays for him, and Lonnie's always around the ball as well. So like I said, I'm excited about those 2 guys being on our defense.
So it was 14-0 with about 12 minutes and 19 seconds left. Holmes gets on the board. This was the pick 6. They just picked off a ball kind of right in the middle. We mentioned it. Eli just leads him a little bit too much. 61-yard pick 6. But the good news was, even in a moment where something bad happened, something great happened for the Wolves because you block the PAT, and hopefully we can show this play. Doug Nelson blocks this PAT, and he is full out extended diving at this ball, and I think barely gets a finger on it, but a great moment there for the special teams in blocking that PAT.
Yeah, I mean, any time you can keep a point off the board is big. You never know, especially if it was a closer game. So, it was a good play by our defense.
So that made it 14-6, and I think on the next drive you're able to run out the clock, and you're able to end the half with a 39-yard field goal by Ty Jones. That made it 17-6 at that point. What's the message to the guys at halftime, knowing 17 points feels good, but it's probably going to take more to beat this team?
Yeah, I mean, just quit shooting ourselves in the foot. That's the biggest thing. Execution. As long as we, defense didn't allow another point, we were going to win. But obviously, we had to play complementary football, and offense had to do better. And they knew that, they understood that. It was a deal where they had to go in and make sure that they made corrections, and us as coaches, especially myself, fix what we needed to fix and get out there and play like we're capable of in the second half.
And then you start the second half, you get the opening kickoff, third quarter, opening drive, you score on this one. I don't think this was the drive where Martavius had the long run called back, but he does score on this one. Had a couple of long runs in this one, but it was an 8-yard touchdown run, one that for a second I thought they were going to have him hemmed up, and he was able to get to that edge and able to score there, and that makes it 23-6 at that point. You got to feel good where you're sitting at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, Cannon Cato, he started off with the kickoff return. It was
Yeah.
a big return to the opposite side of the field, and I think it was just a couple plays and we scored. So I mean, he started it for us, but that was a kind of a statement deal there. We were able to come out at half and put points on the board.
I think about a 60-yard kickoff return there by Cannon. I think he called it on about the 10. It was about on the 50 or 60 yards. It was on the 40 by the time it was all said and done. But the bad news was the next possession is when Holmes scored they scored their only offensive touchdown, little 65-yard touchdown pass, a ball that Berger for them caught. He kind of tiptoed the sidelines, thought if somebody could have got a hand on him, they might could have pushed him out. But they made it 23-13. It's a 10-point game. You're not feeling as easy as you are at that point. But the good news is you get the ball back the next possession or later in the third quarter. Martavius Boswell gets the edge, and if you let Boswell get the edge, you might as well just kiss him goodbye because 87 yards later, he was in the pay dirt.
Yeah, I mean that 65 yards for Holmes right there, that was where most of their passing game came from, that one play. And, had a chance to make a play, and, those guys are capable of making that play, so I expect them to make it here from here on out. And yeah, like I said, one play, 87 yards, it makes life a lot easier. So.
Yeah. One thing we didn't talk about that I feel like we should, the defense really stepped up for you when forcing those interceptions. Bryce Hooker had the first one, kind of a leaping catch, falling away. The ball was going away from him. He was able to steal that one, really stalled out a drive. That was early in the third quarter. I believe that was the drive where Boswell had about a 40-yard rush, called back on a hold. And really the play that sealed the game was another interception. Holmes had the ball deep in their territory after they had forced that fumble by Bentley. And a kid that we haven't talked a lot about, Deshaun McGee, is able to pick one off with about 45 seconds left. And that's really what allowed you to get in the victory formation and seal the victory there.
Yeah, what's funny, both of them are high school teammates. They graduated together. But no, both of them are playing good right now. Bryce has stepped up, having to come in for an injured Centario Willis. But and then Day-Day, he made a play at the end of the game to help us out to basically secure the victory.
So, the good news is the Wolves improved to 2-0. It may not have been pretty, may not have been exactly the way you wanted to win that one, but hey, a win's a win, and you take it and you move on to the next week. Speaking of this next week, it's your South Division opener. It's going to be against a team that I think if anybody's been paying attention, they're a lot better than what they have been. They're much improved. It's going to be Hines, first road trip. A lot of things going on with that one. What are we excited about that matchup for? What do you know about that group as we enter into it?
I mean, Coach Jones has always been a good coach. Everywhere he's been, he's won. So he does some really good things, on offense, and then what they've done defensively has changed a little bit, and they're really good there as well, especially on the defensive line. So it's going to be a good contest. Excited about seeing our guys get out there and compete.
So a Hines bunch is going to be very game for the Wolves. Only lost to East Miss by 7-6. So they're coming off a loss, maybe licking their wounds a little bit, knowing they might have let one get away. But the good news is for the Wolves, again, they're 2-0. Spirits are high at Co-Lin, and Wolves are playing great. They will go to Hines on Thursday, 6:30 kickoff for that. But before that, we'll also have soccer on the road. They are going to play National Park at 5 and 7 on Wednesday. We'll give you all the information on our socials, as we always do for Game Day Post. Just tune in to next week. We'll talk about those games for soccer and how the Wolves did against the Eagles. I'm Kevin Kyzar, your Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin, and we'll talk to you then.